So that little intro video you saw right there was of this truck, my 2006 Chevy Silverado 1500 LS, breaking the 100,000 mile mark. And the reason why I'm going to be making this video is today I'm going to be changing the spark plugs and wires on this 100,000 mile recommendation. And got my new spark plugs right here from AutoZone. Nice thing I like about these are factory AC Delcos. Also bought some new ACs and some boot protectors to avoid any potential damage. There's another box right there. Here are the 8 new spark plugs. Just trying to give you an idea of what they look like. 8 of these, brand new. Let me show you the old ones here. Here's the old ones right there. They're going to be taken out. The only thing I think I forgot to get is that the heat shields that these things normally come with. I'm probably gonna have to reuse the old heat shields. But the tools you'll need to get this job done are a 5/8 deep socket or a spark plug tool if you got one. One thing that will need to come out is this intake tube, just to get to these spark plugs over here. So anyway, let's get to it. Alright guys, so I thought I'd decide to switch over to the last 2 spark plugs to show you them coming off. Now to get these spark plugs off, you're going to have to use all your man strength here. I can get some good leverage. Alright, there she goes. Alright, now this one's slowly coming loose. And out she comes. Right there. Alright, take a look at this. This is how the spark plugs are supposed to look like, and this is what they look like. Now, you could already tell that this thing has 100,000 miles just because of the condition of the old spark plug. But anyway, there's the new one. Now, one thing I would like to point out, when you get these spark plugs, you're going to have to gap them about 0.40. I'm not too sure if it's inches or something like that. But anyway, that's how far they have to be gapped. If you guys out there that have the 5.3 liter V8, I just have the 4.8. You have to gap them 0.60. But anyway, it's great to have these since they already come gapped 0.40. And I got a little spark gap tool to make sure of that. Find it. This little spark plug gap tool. It was a cheap $2 at AutoZone. It's not really the best stuff and the material it's made out of that's good for these spark plugs, but it does okay, measures pretty well. The only thing you want to be careful at is to not damage that little electrode on the spark plug itself. Alright, so without further ado, let's go ahead and put these spark plugs on. Alright, what you're going to want to do before screwing in the spark plug down to the block is put some anti-seize on it. It's going to be hard for me to do this one-handed. And we just put it around the threads like that. Alright, you guys kind of get the idea. So anyway, I'll go ahead and finish up and we'll go ahead and show you to it screwing on. Alright, now what you want to do is take your little anti-seize spark plug and put it down into the deep 5/8 socket. Like that. I like to use a little extension tool Reason why, see if I can't hook this on. Alright, now she's on, and just take her a little over down by the spot where you took the old spark plug out, and start to thread it in by hand. And then when you start to feel resistance, go ahead and take that off. And get your little trusty ratchet, or a torque wrench if you have it. Problem is I don't have a torque wrench, so this is what I'm gonna have to do for now. But you want to tighten these to a good 20 to 25 foot-pounds. Just where it starts to feel the most resistant is where I stop and call it torqued. Okay, now the next thing you want to do is take your new spark plug wire, which is this nice little part right here. One thing I would like to point out, I decided to go with some AC Delco plugs and wires, just so I know those are a factory part, and they should work well with this engine and give it not too powerful of a spark or stuff. At least that's how I'm gonna run it now. Probably one day when it hits 200,000 miles, I'm gonna get some performance spark plugs and wires just to try and make the engine perform better with those high mileage. But anyway, what you want to do with these new wires is take a little bit of boot protector. But one thing I would like to point out before you do something to the wires, you gotta put a little bit of boot protector at the end of the spark plug, just so you know that it clicks on good and you don't have any trouble just trying to get it on. And then you want to do it to the wire. Do it right there. That right there is just the side where it connects to the ignition coil. And over down here is where it connects onto the wire. Alright, boot protector is now applied. Just to slide on the little heat shield. Yes, I would like to point out I am going to use the old heat shield because I couldn't find any new ones. So anyway, just set her down there and she plugs right in. And same thing up to the ignition coil. And there you have it. See how easy that was? It's what's a great thing about working on Chevys is because they use overhead valve engines, unlike Fords and Toyotas and Nissans that still use overhead cam engines. You have to take out the whole part of the intake and head just to change spark plugs. And there you have it. Got the new spark plugs all in, new wires and everything. It's not very hard to do in your own driveway. That's how I did it. The only problems is the back spark plugs, well, the one way in the back, and the two back here were the hardest to change because one, the accumulator was in the way and it was right against the firewall. So now I'm going to give this thing a first start with its new spark plugs. Just hope my hard work paid off. On 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. Everything's running smooth. I don't hear any knocks or anything. Alright, so with that said, let's go ahead and take her for a ride and see how she performs. Alright, 2,000 miles later, it's at 104,000 miles now, some change. Now having put the new spark plugs on 2,000 miles ago, they are holding up extremely well. This truck definitely has better response. And also with that mileage, read up here, it's actually due for its next oil change. Yes, don't judge. I go to get my oil change at Chevy Lube. I find better that this truck runs good. I think this truck runs better with Oil Platinum. And it definitely is a 5,000 mile change interval. It has done amazing on this truck. The performance is great. I'm sure a lot of the internals are well lubed. But anyway, that was the spark plug change on the 2006 Chevy Silverado with the 4.8. It's pretty much ready to go for another 100,000 miles.